Because they used to clown me on the show. They'd be like, "You a black girl in Jennifer Von Noyes, but it's bigger than yours." And she's a white girl.
What was bigger than all of ours?
People trip me out, always saying something like, we lying, it's not true. Yes, give us our money. You would be mad if you worked all weekend when it's time to get your check. They go, oh, the last other checks, that should cover it. We paid you already. No, but did you give me for my services now, today?
We were talking about insecurities. Mine came from a very young age. Being on the set of 227 and you actually hearing an adult talk about the way you look. She fat, she's black, she's ugly. So that played in on my psyche for a long time.
You think Countess Vaughn would have had the perfect career, but that's far from the truth. She was once a fan favorite on Moesha and The Parkers, but after the cameras stopped rolling, it seemed like Hollywood turned its back on her. From being typecast and underpaid to battling cruel fat shaming and body image issues, Countess faced way more than anyone ever saw on screen. And now, fans are finally waking up to the truth. Why was she never given the career she clearly earned? Why did the industry try to erase her? And what really happened to Countess Vaughn after The Parkers? Well, you're about to find out. Vaughn's been fighting battle after battle ever since The Parkers ended in 2004. See, right after the show ended, Vaughn should have had roles lined up at her front door. But that's not what happened. She actually struggled to land opportunities. And if you're wondering why, well, it had everything to do with the industry shutting her out. See, Hollywood has the habit of typecasting black actresses in particular. After a black actress makes her mark, they believe she's fit for those types of roles only. So instead of broadening her horizons with new roles, Vaughn was forced to stick to her lane. She did voice work in Thugaboo, a miracle on D-Rock Street, and acted in other shows like According to Him Plus Her and Let's Stay Together. She dipped her toes in reality TV as well. Back in 2014, the actress appeared on reality shows like Celebrity Fit Club and Hollywood Divas. But that wasn't the worst of it. Vaughn was able to rise above what the industry threw at her. She stayed active in her career. But do you know what she couldn't deal with? The industry pocketing her riches. Yeah, that's right. The higher-ups actually stole from Countess, leaving her struggling financially. She stayed silent about it for years until she found the courage to speak up thanks to her co-star. Monique and Vaughn rallied together back in 2023 to hold CBS and Paramount accountable. Monique took the initiative, making a chilling post on IG. She wrote, "We're coming to you today to let you know that we're standing with all the unions that are striking right now, and we have a story that we must share on our own with the community." Countess Vaughn and I did a show called The Parkers. The Parkers has now been on air for 24 years, and they're trying to convince us through our ownership of the show that we made absolutely no money. The industry had failed to pay the two of them, the leading ladies of the series, the ones who carried everything on their backs, 24 years of residuals. The worst part? According to Monique's husband, the show was made for under $70 million, but has gone on to gross over $700 million. All because of Monique and Vaughn. But they didn't see any of those zeros in their bank account. Monique brought in Dave Chappelle's former dealings with CBS via Comedy Central as well, saying, "So, what we're asking you, CBS, is can you please treat these two black women fairly?" When our brother Dave Chappelle, who ironically had a deal with CBS, said he signed the deal out of desperation, and it was a bad deal, they were able to go back and do the right thing, and they made that deal fair, and they paid Dave Chappelle what he rightfully deserved. What we're asking you, CBS, is don't pay us any more, but don't pay us any less. And Countess, she backed up every claim.
People trip me out, always saying something like, we lying, it's not true. Yes, give us our money. You would be mad if you worked all weekend when it's time to get your check. They go, oh, the last other checks, that should cover it. We paid you already. No, but did you give me for my services now, today?
She was just as mad as Monique for how the industry had cheated her, and she was done staying quiet about it.
That you have played our episodes, pay that. It's not fair.
Now, Monique and Vaughn are still fighting that fight. Unfortunately for Vaughn, she had other things on her plate as well, like struggling with her body image. See, when it comes to beauty standards, Hollywood is unforgiving. And it's clear that Vaughn did not fit into the industry's little box. And she paid the price for it.
We were talking about insecurities. Mine came from a very young age. Being on the set of 227 and you actually hearing an adult talk about the way you look. You know, she fat, she's black, she's ugly. So that played in on my psyche for a long time.
Vaughn's been vocal about it. During one interview with fellow actress Cherie Johnson, Countess talked about what it was like having her body compared to white co-star Jenna Vaughn, who played Stevie on The Parkers. Apparently, during her sitcom days, Vaughn was constantly compared to her co-worker and criticized for her body. Mind you, she was only a young girl on the set chasing her dreams.
Because they used to clown me on the show. They'd be like, you a black girl and Jenna Vaughn noise, but it's bigger than yours. And she's a white girl.
What was bigger than all of ours?
Right, and that used to bother the heck out of me. That used to be the joke all the time.
Really?
All the time.
Of course, Vaughn's self-esteem took a hit. She started feeling insecure about her body while at the same time understanding what it really took to survive in this cutthroat industry. The worst part? She could clearly see how her co-star was treated differently because of her so-called better body. In fact, they nicknamed her White Chocolate.
Really play on your self-esteem?
It sure did.
Wow.
It sure did.
I never knew that.
Because I was like, I'm a black girl and I'm supposed to have a big butt. You know, you fall into these stereotypes. You feel like,
yeah,
I'm supposed to have this. And it didn't happen. And then you see all the attention that she would get for having it. I mean, yeah, they would lose their mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is everything.
The fat jokes on the show didn't make things any easier, according to Vaughn, and I get mad at myself because I was a lot smaller when I was on Moesha, and they made me the fat kid. The jokes, even the first episode, the line was, "Oh, it's baby fat," and "What's your name?" goes, "No, it's fat, baby." And now that fans are older, they're realizing how it was straight up wrong. Back in 2020, Netflix actually acquired Moesha, and that reignited interest in the show. One fan wrote, "Watching Moesha in my 30s hits different now. The fat shaming of Kim, aka Countess Vaughn, from the pilot onwards has me shook. I know it was the 90s, but damn, every episode a fat joke. I really wonder what that does to a young actor's self-esteem week after week on set." Meanwhile, another fan wrote, "Word, I've only rewatched up to episode 3 and remember thinking, dang, they pick on her a lot, but watching it now is like WTF. Moesha was a horrible friend to Kim. Kim should have fought her one good time." However, for little Vaughn, the damage had already been done, and the only way she could improve the situation for herself was by getting butt injections.
These are injections?
Uh-huh.
So why are women getting BBLs if they can just
when they can lose the weight, like the BBLs is the fat from your stomach and it's put in your butt. Well, what if you lose that weight? Because I had fat replaced in my leg from when I had broken it, and it was smaller than the other leg.
She told people that it was something that she felt was necessary to feel better about her body after having a child. "I wanted to do a mommy makeover. I had done it after my oldest child. I really needed to just treat myself, and I'm happy about it," she told International Business Times. It's a lot of hard work. People think lipo isn't hard, but it is in recovery. But that ended up messing her up in the long run. How do we know that? Well, Vaughn briefly starred on the VH1 weight loss reality show, Celebrity Fit Club. She ended up being the only one who actually gained weight on the show. However, despite the setbacks, she was vocal about her struggles.
But I wanted you to know I'm committed, no matter what. Even if, I made a decision on scheduling and got full body lipo before shooting a film. Yeah, it was a dumb decision, but it was The
Your
only
decision.
time
It was your decision. That's right.
that I could do something to better myself, because I've always put myself on the back burner.
Now it's admirable that Vaughn put up with all that, but what fans don't know is that there's a lot more to her story. Let's not forget how Countess lost her hair over the years as well. See, she had the misfortune of falling in love with hair pieces and wigs that needed constant application of wig glue to stay in place.
A good weave is when it looks natural. When you move, it just moves. That's what makes a good weave. When your bangs are on fleek. Yes, Eddie, yeah.
And she did it without thinking about the consequences every day for 5 years. Why? Well, she wanted to fit in. Unfortunately, she paid the ultimate price. Her scalp suffered irreversible damage. In her own words, the red flag was the oozing from my ears, from my forehead, the whole nape around my head, the pus, that horrible smell. It was painful. I let this go by for 6 months. Yes, she let the infection grow for 6 months because she did not realize that the wigs were causing it. However, when she visited the dermatologist, she found out the ugly truth. She was experiencing a severe reaction to the glue that she used to apply the wig. The reaction resulted in severe pain, massive hair loss, and skin discoloration. In fact, even the skin around her ears fell off. At this point, the damage was too much and Countess suffered because of it. I was embarrassed. You have to be at home and be bald. I had to go through this to teach my little one that you have to love yourself before anyone else will. Fans can't help but wonder if her early days in the industry and her issues with her body image lead her down this road. As if that wasn't enough, Countess had to deal with an abortion all on her own at the young age of 18 as well. Back in 1999, the actress was just about to kick things off with the Parkers when she found out that she was pregnant. However, instead of keeping the baby, she decided to terminate the pregnancy. A difficult decision. The worst part? Countess did not have anyone to lean on during this time.
When I was 18 years old, I had an abortion. But I did it the wrong way because I was...
What's the wrong way, Count?
I handled it by myself.
You did what? You did what? You did it yourself?
I took care of it by myself.
With what?
Oh my God. Thank God you're alive.
What did you use, Countess?
Certain medicines.
And if you're wondering why she chose to go through it all on her own, well, it's because she felt like that as a young age Black actress, she wouldn't find any support. She was still climbing the ladder, and from what she had seen, she knew very well that having a baby would have stopped her career in its tracks. And so she chose to make the difficult decision. She said, "They didn't want to see a pregnant girl up there on TV. I knew it wasn't a good look. I had to do something about it. I had to make a decision to get rid of the child for my career because I knew from the jump that if I let any of them know what was going on, they would have canceled my show." Looking back, fans feel like Countess would have made a different decision if the industry were more forgiving to young mothers. Vaughn said, "I don't know if Hollywood has changed. When I was young, we didn't have shows like 16 and Pregnant. We didn't have anything saying, yes, you can be a mother and be successful. My role models were Janet Jackson and Halle Berry, who didn't want marriage to ruin their careers. Really, I was forced by fear. The fear of wanting to do the right thing, or what I thought was the right thing at the time. My maturity wasn't there. The way I handled the situation showed that by not talking to anyone and taking matters in my own hands, that I just wasn't ready. But having a show and having money doesn't make you ready to be a parent either." Thankfully, Vaughn doesn't think about her decision all that much these days, since she's got 2 beautiful kids to call her own. At the end of the day, Vaughn has faced a lot during her time in the industry. No one can deny that. However, the fact that she has stood tall despite it is inspiring. Still, that doesn't change the fact that she shouldn't have had to put up with all that. The fact that she was the face of one of the most popular sitcoms and still struggled this much says a lot about the industry. But what do you think? Is the industry really to be blamed for what Vaughn had to put up with? And are things going to change anytime soon? Let us know what you think in the comments section below, and make sure to check out this next video.